Hi, welcome back to Shambhala Studio. I'm Lawrence Brahm, film director and one of the producers here. And this is another one of our editing rooms. In fact, this particular editing room is dedicated entirely to special effects that we're using for our films. And of course, we have Saraswati here on the, behind me, and she is the, the creative, inspirational Dakini, the what do I want to say, sound and music, and in Tibet all the artists, musicians, they all pray to and practice Saraswati in Tibetan Yangjima, and so do we. And she's always an inspiration for everything we do. In fact, in the another editing room, we have a Saraswati shrine also, and all of our awards that we receive are all donated to the shrine. So, we're doing this with a lot of creative energy in the field. And because of that, we're pushing into these sci-fi films. And I know that a lot of you were really curious last time I was talking about our new film, Lotus-Born Master and the Algorithm of Karma. And I'm going to take you a little bit behind the scenes of that film and give you a little bit of a peek at what's been going on here, because what we're doing is we're trying to tell a story, and we've been working on this now for about 3 years. If you think back, actually I started working on the script almost 4 years ago with the perception that the AI was just going to get a little bit out of hand. We're all talking about this ChatGPT. It's going to save the world. It's going to do everything for us. Think about how convenient our life is going to be now. Well, I'll be very frank. I don't think the technology is making my life very convenient. Of course, we're using it for films and stuff, but I was doing a very simple thing today. We were trying to communicate with Los Angeles and Hollywood. And just to be able to get on a Zoom call, there were so many messages back and forth, and 50 emails to make a phone call, and finally, we get a phone call through. It was not very efficient. It would have been much easier if I just picked up a landline and did a phone call and discuss everything in a few minutes. So we have to ask ourselves a question. Is the technology facilitating our lives and making it easier, or is the technology in many ways complicating our lives and making it more complex? You do a banking transaction, once upon a time it was very easy. Now you have these codes and those codes and that codes, and frankly, anyone can crack it. So the codes are being changed constantly, and the technology is rushing to keep up with the hackers in many ways. So now, I'm not trying to say I'm against technology. I see technology as the source, if used correctly, as the source of solving a lot of our environmental problems. It's created a lot of our environmental problems, actually. I mean, we think about the digital economy. We've watched climate change increase because we've never been using heat. Never been using all of this energy before, the way we're using it now. And for the decades of this whole internet revolution, it's mostly coal that's being burned, and that is the most polluting energy. And we think of our wonderful cell phones and all the lithium and rare earth that's being used to make these gadgets. It's tearing up the earth too. Now, complaining about the technology aside, it's also the digital world and big data that allows us to switch those grids from fossil fuels to renewable energy sources. The nature of energy is it's a market. So basically energy companies are buying from different sources constantly, and it's a game of switching. So your energy is never really coming from one source. It's coming from many different sources almost simultaneously in a big grid that's actually kind of a nexus. It's almost like a big traffic nexus that you might find with different sources being pulled in, and it depends on the pricing of it. And of course, if we're able to expand the solar, earth, wave technologies, wind, and able to then use data to measure it quickly and efficiently, then we can shift those markets away from fossil fuels toward renewable energy. So there is this debate. Now the question is not the technology, the question is the people using it and how we're going to be able to harness that technology for positive purpose. And that brings us to the film, The Algorithm of Karma. Is our algorithm wrong right now? Has it gone in the wrong direction? And so we have this kind of crazy story that's almost phantasmorical, dealing with parallel universes and crossovers between time and space. I'm going to be taking you to a moment that almost seems something out of Avatar, in a kind of Amazonian jungle with mists and, swamp. And here we've got the two, feminine energy forces, two Dakini types. Now remember, these are not real Dakinis. These are phantasmorical images that are created to represent certain energy fields or certain powers that can save us and bring us to our own mindfulness, allow us to take back the power of our own mind. And so these two images, these two figures are creeping through the jungle, and what's happened is they're trying to avoid the robots. The robots have taken over. There has been massacres of people by the robots. And they are, trying to avoid them. They're looking for robot tracks in the mud, and suddenly they see this little cute, adorable robot, and he's just waving at them and let the guard down. It's okay. The AI is innocent. And then at that moment, the super drone comes, the Scorpion drone, and they run for their lives, and they realize it's a trap. It's basically luring them in to a situation in which they drop their guard. They're not using their wisdom, they're not using their mind, they're just simply feeling, let's play with the technology, it's so much fun. And then they find out that it's going to harm them. And so we've deliberately designed this drone to be a scorpion. Okay, now there's a reason for that, because the scorpion represents poison, but it also can be turned into a protector. As the Lotus-Born master's story goes, he was being attacked by the scorpion, and he grabbed it by the tail and turned it around into the iron scorpion, which was one of his Vajra, instruments that he used to protect and to repel negative energies. We talk about, Shambhala, the wealth deity, and he's always holding a mongoose, and the mongoose is spitting out jewels. But why the mongoose? Because the mongoose eats scorpions. Mongoose eats scorpions and centipedes, and it digests it and turns it into its own nutrition. So in other words, it's taking the poison and reverting it into the jewels of wisdom. And I think that is the essence of what we have to do. We're not just going to, in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, to escape from reality, to be able to meditate in peace and avoid. We're going right into the turbulence of reality and transforming it in a positive way that can then serve humanity and reduce suffering rather than being the cause of suffering. And that's the essence of this. It's an activity energy rather than a passive energy. There's passivity in being able to reduce suffering. And so that's the essence of the teachings in that respect, and that's what we're also portraying. So the two, we can say the two avatars or the two Dakinis are now going through the jungle, and they see the scorpion. They're attacked by the scorpion. They hide from the scorpion, and then they sit down and they start to reflect: where are the people? What's happened? Why has civilization vanished, just like the Mayan civilization, the Aztec? We don't know what happened. Who built the pyramids? Where did these people go? Where did their knowledge go? Why did it disappear? Was ancient civilization that was so wise, that had its technologies, also self-destructing itself for different reasons? There's, of course, the story of Easter Island, those incredible statues. And it was the great explorer Thor Heyerdahl, who was a huge inspiration to me when I was a kid. Thor Heyerdahl was like the Ra expeditions. In fact, my own entry into the Explorers Club of New York was done by his navigator on the on the Ra expedition. So I've always admired Thor Heyerdahl. And of course, in Easter Island, one of his very early expeditions was to uncover the story of how these great stones were moved, what was the technology behind it. And he was able to determine that, of course, they were moved by building up many, many layers of pillars with logs. And this entire process of building the civilization was destroying all of the trees on Easter Island, which were essential for the canoes that people used to go fishing. In the end of the day, no trees, no canoes, no fishing, no more people, no more civilization. Things broke down, people disappeared, and with it, so did their teachings. So we have to ask ourselves, is this an algorithm? Is civilization heading towards self-destruct? And that's the question we're asking with this film, Lotus-Born Master and the Algorithm of Karma. The question is, how do we change that algorithm? That depends on nobody else except our own selves, our own awakening of our own mind, and our own determination to take the power back, to take it back to our own mind. Use the technology. Don't be used by the technology, and don't let them tell you that a robot is going to make your life better if you can't make it better yourself. That depends on each and every one of us. And that's what the Lotus-Born Master's teachings are all about. How we can take back our own mind, how we can go into ourselves, how we can awaken ourselves, how we can have discernment, how we can make the right decisions, how we can live in the right way, and how we can actively reduce suffering of other people. And if you're going to do that, then use the technology in a positive way.